Hello and welcome to the round so far, brought to you by AAMI. I'm Harley Beveridge. This is Kane Cornes. Kane, plenty to get to from round 20. Let's start with our big story. It came at Marvel Stadium, where St Kilda absolutely dismantled the Bombers, winning by 53 points.
Yeah, there's two stories here. The Saints were unbelievable, and Essendon have just capitulated under the weight of expectations this season. They've given up on their season this year with this performance at Marvel today for the second week in a row against bottom 5 teams in Adelaide and St Kilda. They've produced their worst performances, and this was a bad performance. But here's the good from the Saints. Now, a lot of this revolves around lack of pressure from Essendon. They took 16-5 contested marks. They were dominant in the air. 20-7 marks inside forward 50. Their average for the year, the Saints, is 11. They've taken 20. Look at this from Butler, the kick inside forward 50. Owens was enormous. He wins another one-on-one contest. I thought he was huge today, one of his best games for the year. But Butler kicked it in. Butler kicks the goal. They kicked 7 goals in the third term. The Saints and Essendon, under the weight of expectations after a positive start, their season has just evaporated in the blink of an eye.
It certainly has. Let's get to our Saturday star now, and it is an unlikely one. Cooper Sharman was absolutely fantastic. A career best game. 21 disposals, 3 goals and 3 goal assists.
He was everywhere. Honestly, he was so good. And I thought, there's not many 24-year-old forwards that can do this. So strong in the air. For whatever reason, it hasn't happened for him, but it might. And I thought today, this performance, it's added a couple of zeros to his contract. The Saints would be desperate to keep him. But all their forwards, they had a field day. I mean, it helps when Redmond does that. Experienced players kicking it straight to you from full-back. What a disgraceful decision that was. But he was enormous. Owens, I mentioned, 18 and 1 goal. He won critical contests, led up the ground and played a bit higher. Remember, he kicked his 2 and played his role, and Caminiti was excellent as well.
Essendon has now lost 6 of its last 8 games. They look like they're going to be missing out on finals. This is their coach, Brad Scott, speaking afterwards about their lack of intensity.
Our effort and intent in the contest was really poor. And across the course of the game, it was poor. And it doesn't take much in this game to, if you drop off in that area, for you to look second rate, and we look third rate.
So they were 8-3-1 at the turn of the year. They're going to miss finals now because this is their next run. So they've got Fremantle, who's one of the most informed sides in the competition. Gold Coast at Marvel, they really should be winning that. But then Sydney and Brisbane to finish. We were talking about them 6 weeks ago as though winning a final should be the expectation. Now they're going to miss the 8 altogether, it looks like.
It's a massive failure from where they were being. I thought win a final and that would be a pass mark. Others had higher expectations after the start, but that's near on impossible. They're not going to start favourites in any of those games with the way that they're playing. So make some decisions about your list. I mean, what are you doing with Darcy Parish? Why is he playing in this side? I don't know if he's in there when he's fully fit, let alone half fit, ineffective, no clearances today. What are you doing with Draper? Absolutely torched by Marshall today. Are you re-signing Stringer? What are you going to do there? Is there serious interest in other players? Peter Wright, what are you going to do? So there's so many questions that they need to make in the next 4 months. Now it is unfortunately not about playing finals and winning a final. It's what decisions are we going to make at the end of the year to try and jump the hurdle that they've been unable to jump.
An absolute thriller at the MCG where the Giants got over the line against Melbourne. They kicked the first 4 goals of the 4th quarter to lead by 27 points at one stage. Then the D's came storming back. 4 straight goals themselves, but they fell 2 points short. Yeah,
and that man Hogan, so he's kicked 4. He was the difference. He was the best key forward on the ground in really difficult conditions at the MCG in the middle of winter. He's brought up his 50 goals, the first time he's done that in his career. And ironic that he started at Melbourne and was a Melbourne player. He was huge. Now here they come. There's Chandler. He kicked a couple of goals. They just couldn't get a key forward winner, Melbourne, once again. So nothing really from Petty. Van Rooyen was quiet, 1 goal. So it was their key forwards that continue to be unable to provide a contest. And these are the critical moments late. And the kick there as the Giants hang on for a very, very impressive win, I thought. Away from home, MCG, tough conditions. And that well and truly keeps their finals and top 4 hopes alive.
They're finding their role players again, the Giants, and one of them is James Peatling, who's come back into the side in recent weeks. Have a look at these 2 late tackles. This is when the game on the line in the final 4 minutes, and he's produced 2 match-clinching tackles. Finished with 28 disposals, 8 clearances and 11 tackles.
That's amazing when you look at those numbers. That is a huge game. 18 contested possessions, 11 tackles. Now the conditions suit it, but this one here, I mean, that just seals the game. Adam Kingsley's on the bench. He said, all right, just take your time, take your 30, kick it long down the line, and we win this game of footy. You can see what it meant to Tom Green and his teammates. So, yep, they were challenged and they stood up not convincingly, I'm going to say, but that's all you got to do. You got to do enough to win in a hostile environment, although it wasn't hostile because 16,000, which is an absolute disgrace. Like, where are the Melbourne supporters?
Finals on the line.
16,000 people at the MCG. I mean, we've spoken about fickle crowds, Richmond and how much they've dropped off this year, Podsiadly at times with the criticism and booing of their coach, but I mean, that takes the cake, doesn't it?
We spoke about the Giants for 8 weeks in the sense that they just lost all of their scoring power. They've got it back in the last 4 weeks. So they're kicking 5 goals a game more over the last month, and it's seen them go from 2-6 in that 8-week stretch to 4-0. They're back in the top 4 race as things stand.
Yeah, I reckon their small forwards are so pivotal to the way that they play. And when they beat Carlton, came from behind the small forwards. And last week, the small forwards, once again, Brent Daniels important. Jones has been a really critical player for them, so clean. So they're vital in the way that they play. But don't underestimate the impact of the captain, Toby Green. Started the season slowly. He's well and truly back. 3 goals tonight. He was involved in everything. Most score involvements on the ground. Kicked 3 big goals. So him and Hogan, I thought, were the 2 forward winners. And in essence, the difference between the 2 sides.
Yeah, they were fantastic up forward for the Giants. Let's head out west now, where the derby took place, and it looked like West Coast was in control of this at half-time. They led by 13 points at the break, but then 5 goals to nothing in the third term saw Fremantle blow this one open.
What about this third term? I mean, and this is what serious football teams do. I mean, West Coast, they're not prepared to play 4 quarters of football, and you can see this, the run and the carry and the contest wins from Fremantle in this third term. So West Coast can be competitive for a half. Of course they can. They're an AFL team playing on their home deck in front of a lot of their fans, even though it's a Fremantle home game. But in the second half, they get blown away because they're not prepared like a professional team are, and that's what Fremantle are. So, as you said, 10 scoring shots to 1 in the third term, 16-8 inside forward 50. They won ground ball, they dominated contested possessions, and Brayshaw and Sarong are absolutely turning one on. In the last 2 weeks, their performances as a 1-2 punch in the midfield, just as good as you've seen.
And then when you add Hayden Young in there, they are hard to stop out of the midfield. Tell you what, there was some heat in this one, and it was mostly between Harley Reid and Andy Brayshaw, who were going at it throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah, so just got to be a touch careful, I reckon, Harley Reid, because of who he is and the target that he's already got on his back. I don't think he needs to be doing this sort of rubbish. Off the ball, it's your first year. I think you want to be finding your feet at the level. Look, we love his competitiveness and his numbers were great again. And if not for him, you know, what would there be to watch the Eagles for this year? Not much. He had 10 clearances, so I'm not critical of that. It's the off-ball stuff. It's not dissimilar to Jason Horne-Francis that we've been speaking about. You've got to get your focus back and stay in the game, because I just think he's far too easily distracted, and he doesn't need to be doing this stuff. His conditioning is not there as it is to be wasting energy, wrestling, giving free kicks off the ball, getting his headband ripped off, getting in verbals with Nat Fyfe. He just doesn't need to be doing that. So someone's got to take control, and unfortunately there isn't many good mentors at the Eagles to take him under his wing. 29 disposals and 10 clearances tonight for Harley Reid. Let's get to Caleb Sarong, because he won the Glendinning Allen Medal once again. So he's won it 3 times now, Kane. Only 8 players have won it 3 times. Paul Hazelwood holds the record with 4. He's 23 years old, so he's going to smash that record. Honestly, it's frightening, and I reckon he's getting better. So that's the thing. He's always played at a high level since basically his first year, and I loved his apprenticeship. He was more a defensive midfielder. Now he's just a ball magnet in his own right. How clean he was tonight. You probably have to go back and watch his tape, you know, repeatedly, just to see the little things that he does in tight, and I think his ball use has really improved. The next step is to impact the scoreboard more, like pushing forward and doing that, but hard to be critical when he has 12 score involvements. I think Brayshaw had 14, so between them, those two, stack of the footy, but their disposals aren't junk. They're leading to scores, and I thought both of their second halves were just enormous.
Let's get to Queensland now, where the Q clash took place and Brisbane kicked away with it late. So Gold Coast came within 8 points this final term. They looked like they had all the run. We know about Brisbane's injury issues, particularly down back. But then the final 3 goals of the game, the final 5 scoring shots of the game to seal this one. Gold Coast's first home loss of the season.
This is huge. Are they the best team in it, Brisbane?
They're certainly coming at the moment.
They've won 8 in a row. Are they the best team? I think they are. I think they're the best team in it. Like this performance here, on a ground where no one's won this year, with the amount of key defenders you've got out of the side, to have to chuck the magnets around, which we'll get to in a minute, to win ground balls by 19, plus 22 from stoppage when Gold Coast midfield, particularly at home, is such a strength. They kicked 3 goals, as you said, and what a strong performance for the side that I think right now is hard to go past. Sydney, and Brisbane.
I still got Sydney number 1, I think.
Well, I don't know. The stats would suggest, and the record of recent times would suggest it's Brisbane.
They're in the top 2 now, having been 2 and 5. And we mentioned their injuries down back. They were forced to play Eric Hipwood on Ben King. This was remarkable. No Harris Andrews, no Tom Duday, no Darcy Gardner, no Darragh Joyce, no Jack Payne. So Eric Hipwood goes back. He took 5 intercept marks.
Yeah, I know, you've got to try it. And I reckon you can explore this further. And then I don't know if it'll be this year when those come back, but I'd love to see him do a pre-season down back. It's a great matchup, King, because if you line them up, put them in a height and weigh them, they're probably exactly the same, King and Hipwood. So, yeah, King had his moments. If he kicked straight, he would have had a fair day out. That's the issue for him in the last 2 weeks, is his inaccuracy. But as you said, he's taken 5 intercept marks. He's a good ball user, gets to 50 there and still goes forward. Clearly knows what he's doing in front of goal. So I think personally he's been a disappointing forward. He's been a tease. He's got all the athleticism in the world. And what do we do with disappointing forwards? We try them back.
Throw them back.
We throw them back, like Rory Lobb and others have done in the past. So definitely worth exploring with Brisbane and Hipwood.
Let's get to our moment of the weekend now. It came in his game and it came from Dane Zoro. Have you ever seen a man celebrate a spoil like he's won the flag? This just goes to show their intent in this game. He gets up here and he gives it the big ones. He won the Marcus Ashcroft medal for best on ground, the second time he's won it this year. 32 disposals, 12 marks. He spoke after the game about really wanting to set the tone. That was early in the game. That's a tone setter.
Yeah, I mean, what a season he's having.
Yeah.
And just an underrated career, albeit I think we're starting to speak about it like we should and show him their respect, but he's going to go down as a Brisbane line great. And when you're talking about Brisbane line greats, we know the names.
Yeah.
And he's involved in all of that. Black, Ackermanis, Brown, Lappin, all of them, Voss. He's in that category now. 5 best and fairest. Probably win his 6th this year, although Lockie Neal was enormous again tonight. So to be between those two, you'd reckon. But at 35 years of age, I think he had 9 score involvements from half-back, 32, as you said, having a big year.
Premiership would cap it off for Dane Zoro. Let's get to Friday night footy now, where Port Adelaide came from behind to beat the Blues. They were 31 points down in the second half, but they had held Carlton to just 1 goal in the second half. Their pressure after half-time was immense.
And this is what we're showing. So 91 tackles. Willam Drew laid 12 tackles. He had the job on Cripps, which we'll get to in a minute. Ollie Wines, 10 tackles. But then they all joined in. I mean, they were flat at half-time. 4 goals down. You think, oh, this is another disappointing Port Adelaide performance. Did not see this. To keep Carlton to 1 goal under a roof at Marvel with the forward line and midfield that they have got was a really impressive performance. I thought some of the coaching moves, this from Bergman, was a match-saving dual tackles with the holding the ball here. Thought his game was excellent. But the move of Radaglia forward definitely worked. There's concerns over Charlie Dixon and his future and can he stand up? Not sure. And the tagging job that Willam Drew did on Patrick Cripps after Cripps got them, particularly in the last quarter earlier on in the year, was enormous.
It was an interesting night for one goalpost at Marvel Stadium as well. A couple of incidents here. The first one we'll see from Jackson Mead, where the ball hits the flag that's tucked into the post. It's under the rules. Both of these are correct in the sense that they both, the correct outcome was eventually made. So this is a point because the flag counts as the post.
Just tuck that flag behind the post, so it's not that hard, is it?
And then the second one where the ball from Darcy Byrne-Jones hits the goal umpire, on replay shown to be going through, but goal umpire's in the field of play there as it hits him. So
now, I'm no umpiring positioning expert, but I would think it's not a great idea to stand in the field of play. That umpire just take probably 3 steps back behind the line. That ball goes through, not off your leg, into the post, and we have to go upstairs at a crucial moment. But they made the right call both times, clearly, as you said, but tuck the flag in and the goal umpire get outside the field of play.
Let's talk about Sam Walsh and Patrick Cripps, because as you said, they were well held, particularly through the midfield from Willam Drew, as you mentioned. Tackles galore, and Carlton just couldn't win the game without them.
And look, I'm looking at the score involvement. So their average there, you can see for Cripps 6.7, for Walsh 6.9, 3 each, so 6 between them. Like Horne-Francis had 8 on his own, and they've had 6 between them. Now, we spoke about Cherry, didn't we? Yeah. So I think it was 2 weeks ago we said, OK, who's going to be the third midfielder that's going to step up for Carlton? Well, not Cherry. He can't touch it in the midfield. 15 touches again on the night. Hewitt's back into the side. His numbers looked OK, particularly his last quarter, but doesn't do any damage. Chincotta's coming up and having 8 touches as a tagger. Ineffective, so they got to look at that. I reckon he's at just a wasted position through the midfield. Just goes to show, limit Cripps and Walsh, limit Carlton, because they don't have a third option in the midfield that can stand up.
They've lost 3 of their last 4 games now, Carlton. They've slipped out of the top 2. Their season's well and truly on the line at the moment, I think, because I think they need to make top 4 to win the flag. There'll be any chance of winning the flag. You've got Collingwood and Hawthorn in the next fortnight, so 2 very tough games. And you can see here, among the worst in the competition for a whole heap of key stats.
Yeah, not great numbers, are they? They're really short on a couple of small forwards as well, so they're struggling in that aspect. We mentioned the midfield, the Harry Mackay circus with the concussion. Is it a virus? Is it a concussion? I'm still not sure, but I'm glad he didn't play after how bad that head knot looked last week. So they'll get him back. To Koning hurt and Akers hurt as well. So yeah, they had some things go against them from a personnel point of view, but they're far too good to be kicking one goal in the second half on a Friday night under a roof.
They certainly are. Let's get to our AAMI clangers now. Who covers clangers? AAMI does. We'll start at Marvel Stadium. How's the fan in the background? He's seen enough from the Bombers over the last month or so.
Yeah, not happy.
Throws the scarf onto the field.
Not happy, yeah. Fickle supporters has been a topic this year, and chucking the Essendon supporters today was pretty disgraceful.
What about Harvey Thomas here?
What's he doing
Just
here?
handball it.
Handball it!
Bang, straight to Jesse
Jesse's
Hogan.
not happy. Could have kicked me fifth.
He was not happy
Look at him.
with that one. He's filthy. You had to go at him after the game as well. All in good fun, though. But you'd think young Harvey Thomas, who's had a good year, he might handle it next time. This is the behind of the year from Joe Danaher. From halfway, with about 3 men on him.
Bounce.
He's so unlucky here because that could have been one of the best goals you've ever seen.
Montfrey's bounce and didn't get the Montfrey's
and
bounce.
why isn't
Now,
Aiden
this
Core just
from
taking this
Aiden
one
Core is probably one of the worst defensive acts I've seen this year. Some of their goal line stuff was awful today. Dempsey was terrific. One of the stars of the season for the Cats.
We'll get to that game very soon. Hey, Kane, you might have noticed during the week, Razor Ray Chamberlain, one of our favourite umpires, announced that he is hanging up the boots. He was involved in a classic clanger back in his day.
And I just saw this football coming at me and I had nowhere to go.
Brown went really early and
wow. It hit me in the groin, sort of more in the thigh than a direct hit. And I was right next to the crowd over the boundary line. So I turned around and just sort of said, yep, that's out. All this fair and love and war, there's no grief between me and Dylan, none at all. I think everyone just had a laugh, to be honest. That was more the case and we all just got on with it.
You can catch the full episodes of AAMI Classic Clangers on the AFL's social media accounts. Let's get to Tasmania now, where Geelong easily accounted for North Melbourne. Although it wasn't always comfortable, so Zane Duursma kicked a goal here late in the third term to get it back to within 10 points. And then Geelong turned it on. They kicked 7 of the next 8 goals and just cruised to victory.
Stengel was important, kicked 3, and a couple of these goals here, absolutely classic small forward goals, weren't they? He's having another big season, is Tyson Stengel. Huge mark here from Dangerfield. He brings that down. So, yeah, I mean, they had some... I mean, in the end, it was an easy win. Jeremy Cameron kicked his couple, but wasn't his biggest afternoon. We mentioned the goal line stuff.
Yeah,
there's another one on the goal line that they mucked up, North Melbourne, and didn't defend strongly enough. So they started well. They had their handball chains going. They had the forward handball going. They got out to an early lead, but in the end, you could always sense that Geelong were going to come back, and in particular, because of the way that North Melbourne were using the footy.
But what about Tom Stewart? Because we've spoken about him a lot on this show throughout the year. 32 disposals, 13 intercepts today. But what about the way that North Melbourne negated him?
Can I just tell and have a message? Like, you think Clarkson's won 4 premierships, right? He's getting paid $1 million. You think he would have forward scouted what Tom Stewart has been doing. And it's not complicated. He starts in the centre bounce and then he goes and plays his usual role. You are allowed to put someone on him, like many of the teams that have beaten Geelong this year and frustrated and strangled the life out of Tom Stewart to the point where he's almost been a distraction for them. They had to chuck him into the centre bounce. Starts on ball, goes and plays his usual role. So 22 of his 32 touches in the back half. Now, you think Alistair Clarkson, after witnessing this for a month, would have had a plan and set someone for Tom Stewart, who has shown he's so gettable and so taggable. But Clarkson was bamboozled by Scott and let him run around, do as he please, and he'll get the 10 coaches' votes best on ground again. And Tom Stewart's back to doing what he's done for the last 6 or 7 years and winning 5 All-Australian Blazers, because coaches can't work out, starts centre bounce, goes back. It's bizarre. I just can't work it out.
You mentioned North Melbourne's disposal efficiency before. Aside from Harry Sheasel, because he was unbelievable today, had 14 score involvements from 16 total scores for North Melbourne. But they don't have many great users of the footy.
So your man McKerch has got to get in this midfield.
He will go in there eventually.
Yeah, has to, and he will in time. So factor that in, and I'm hopeful Duursma can be a centre forward midfielder in time as well. And I think he's an excellent kick. But they butchered the ball today like I haven't seen a team butcher it all year. And you're right. Other than Sheasel, their midfield are poor kicks. Wardlaw, we love his effort. Don't get me wrong. But he can't kick. Phillips is an awful kick. If Phillips has picked 53, not picked 3, he's not in the side. Simpkin is a poor kick. Luke Davies-Uniacke is a poor kick as much as he's a good ball winner and had a stack of it today. But time and time again, they just completely turned the footy over, and it was 27-7 intercept marks.
Yeah, 27-9.
27-9 intercept marks because North Melbourne kept kicking the ball straight back to the Cats today.
Let's get to the ladder now. It was a big day for the ladder. It changed around a lot. So Sydney stayed at the top, obviously, but Brisbane moved into the top 2. Fremantle went to 3rd. Carlton are hanging on by the skin of their teeth inside the top 4. The Giants look pretty settled now. Cats are drifting a little bit.
Yeah, no, the Cats are drifting, but it was an important win for them to hold on. But I mean, it's going to be really tough for Melbourne, particularly if Hawthorn beat Adelaide in Adelaide tomorrow. That's a huge game. It's going to be too hard for Collingwood and Gold Coast. They are done, so we're probably down to, I reckon we're down to 10. I think Melbourne are out. I think we're down to the Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn for the 10 teams that are a possibility to play finals. And
Here
there's
are
the games
the
for
remaining games on Sunday. So Collingwood take on Richmond at the MCG to kick us off. Sydney against the Western Bulldogs. I give the Doggies an outside chance.
Yeah,
of
with
going
Sydney's
up there and getting the
injuries.
win. And then Adelaide, pretty impressive last week against Essendon.
Always
on
hard at home, Adelaide, so that's not an easy game for the Hawks.
They take on the Hawks. Thanks to you, Kane, for your help tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on the Round So Far.
For the best and most comprehensive wrap of each round, Access All Areas is the show for you. Unpacking all the action and dissecting the big news from each round. Access All Areas thanks to Crypto.com, Mondays on AFL.com.au and the AFL Live app.